Hello everyone, and welcome back to Soccer Unboxings. So in today's video, I will be discussing my trip to LA. I recently just got back home, and it's actually the day after, so I'm recording this video now. Thankfully I'm not too jet lagged or anything, and I feel fine for the most part, maybe just a bit tired, but I'm just overall pretty good. And definitely LA was a very nice place to visit. I flew all the way from the East Coast where I live all the way to the West, and thankfully also the weather was very cooperative, so we got to spend a lot of time out and about. We visited multiple museums, and we also spent time in Japanese Village, which I'll probably discuss at the end, but right now I'd say I highly recommend going to if you have the time. It's a very nice area, especially if you're into, little, Japanese shops, and of course, anime and manga. And yeah, so obviously I'm very excited to show you guys what I have hauled from museums and also Japanese Village. Of course, I had to, shop there and get some stuff, but yeah. So I'll be going first with the museums, of course, and then, eventually going on to what I picked up from Japanese Village. So without further ado, let us get started. So starting off, the first museum we went to on actually the second day. The first day we mostly just got settled down at the hotel and went to different places, like this place called the Pie Hole, which I had different types of pies that were pretty good. And then my sister and I went to the first museum we went to see, the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. And of course, this is where they had the Hiyao Miyazaki exhibition, which was overall fantastic. I loved seeing all of the sort of frame-by-frame, animation. They had clips from different movies up there. They had also some of the colored artwork, which was just absolutely amazing, seeing all of that detail. Unfortunately, if you've seen my TikTok, which I've recently made my own TikTok that's going to be based around this channel, essentially, you were not allowed to take any photos or videos in it. Of course, I only did the outside, but it kind of sucked because I was looking forward to showing you guys what was inside, but obviously I wish to respect the museum's policies and not get us kicked out, so yeah. Unfortunately, I can only take video of the outside, not the inside, but overall it was just a very nice part of the museum. I definitely say that this museum, the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures, was probably my favorite out of the bunch. It was very big. They had just so many rooms with different sections. I loved, pretty much seeing all the film equipment used, just the posters for the movies. And I especially took a lot of pictures of costume designs, like outfits worn in with different movies, some iconic outfits, and yeah, I took a lot of pictures of those. If you're really into motion pictures or anything costume design, the type of film stuff that they use, I definitely recommend checking out this museum. I'd say it was definitely worth going to, not just because of the Miyazaki, but just seeing just all the the different iconic stuff that was in movies. So yes, starting off, of course I picked up a bunch of Miyazaki, stuff from Miyazaki's movies. I'm not gonna lie, I was slightly disappointed with the selection just because there was a lot of expensive stuff. And, the smallest posters that they have, I'll probably be talking through while there's something up on screen that I took a video of the shop. So as I scroll through, you can obviously see all the items that were there. There's some that weren't there, I saw on the website there was a Kiki magnet that they didn't have actually in the gift shop. So yeah, there was some stuff that weren't there, and I don't know, I wanted to also get stuff from my friends. They told me the movies that they loved, but stuff was expensive, okay? The cheapest thing I could find was a postcard for $3, but they only had, I think, Castle in the Sky, and I want to say Nausicaa was the other one. So those are the only two types of postcards there. They're $3, and I'm okay, can't get them a postcard because they didn't ask for any of those Ghibli movies specifically. And I was surprised that there weren't any enamel pins because I thought that would have been perfect. And yeah, I just didn't quite, like, the selection was just, I don't know. Like, for instance, like, I wish I could have got a poster, but first off, where would I put it in my luggage? And second, like, the smallest poster that size that they had was $35, and I'm just like, I couldn't, like, you know, get it, obviously. And plus some of the posters, I didn't quite like the choices that they had, like the Howl's Moving Castle one, for instance. It just has Sophie, like old Sophie on the front. I would have liked it with her and Howl. I thought that would have been cool. Like I think Spirited Away also had the same thing. Like, but the choices for the pictures on the posters weren't my favorite, but that was probably, of course, the Japanese theatrical poster, so that's probably why that design was picked for the poster specifically. I feel like the most stuff I got wasn't too bad. I did pick up 4 items. 2 of them were for me, and the last 2 were for my friends. So I will get started with those. So starting off with the items I got at the Ghibli exhibition, again, I only got 4 because it was very expensive, to say the least. It came out to a total of 90 USD, and yeah, for 4 items, oh boy. So I'll show the ones I actually got for my friends, and I got them kind of the same thing, and it's actually a magnet that I got. It is this, I'll show B-roll, of course, this Totoro magnet that was only, like, I mean, it was $8, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I wanted to get him something, like, you know, not too expensive. There was a cute sort of Totoro, like, lunch bag. I kind of wanted to get them, but I was like, you know, I'm thinking, like, use and, like, expense, you know, how much it is. And the one thing I kind of like about this is why Totoro's backside, okay? Like, you could have picked his front and I think it would have been cuter, but you picked his behind for this, so I just hope this gets a good laugh out of them because, I don't know. If I was the one who was designing this magnet, I probably would have picked the front, of course. I don't know. So, I mean, I took it out of its plastic packaging, by the way, just to show you guys, but yeah. It is a pretty strong magnet, though, which is pretty good. I'm sure they'll get a use out of it. Moving on to the second item now, I actually got this, oh, it's very reflective. This Soot Sprite eco bag, so a reusable bag. This was 16 USD. They had this one, and they also had the cat bus from Totoro, but of course, I mean, I was kind of torn. I do like cats, but I'm like, I decided to go with the Soot Sprite one, of course. I still have it in the bag, by the way, and yeah. So, yeah, hopefully I can get some use out of this in the end. And the last item I have, which was the most expensive one I got, is of course the Miyazaki art book, I guess. The stuff that was in the exhibits, essentially. So yeah, this I think was around 50 USD, which for this size is not that bad. So this is, I guess, exclusive to the museum we went to, and so story about this, I picked it up out of, like, of course, because I collect, like, art books, and my sister ended up wanting to buy one, and we showed it to my dad, and then he's like, why are you guys getting 2? And then we kind of argued, hey, what happens if one of us moves out in the future? Someone's not going to have this art book. So yeah, me and my sister both bought this art book, and yeah, I mean, of course, I want it for the collection, but it's unopened. They did have one open, which was nice, so if you wanted to skim through it to take a look and to decide if you want to buy it, then you could. So I did a quick sort of skim through of this book, and essentially it mostly has the stuff that was shown off in the museum in here, which I guess is nice. Of course, I will be showing footage. You know, it has all of, like, these, you know, creating the characters, image boards, like, well, like, mediums that Miyazaki used, and I feel like, you know, obviously seeing in this art book is cool, but I feel like seeing it in person was absolutely amazing. Like, you can see like the medium, like face to face, what he used for, you know, making these images. Just seeing like the process of how he made these movies was just absolutely like, amazing. Like, you even have the sort of you know, frame by frames, all of like the backgrounds he used, because like I noticed that like obviously these backgrounds, you know, they're like they're painted or essentially, and you know, they just stay like, you know, the way they are, and then obviously they put like another frame of the character over it, so you know, they don't have to keep constantly drawing the backgrounds, which, you know, is like an easy step in animation. And here's like Spirited Away. But yeah, this is definitely obviously a very nice like sort of like book to have. And yeah, so definitely a very nice sort of exclusive art book that I get to put on my shelf. And that pretty much ends the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. Again, definitely one of my favorite museums that I have seen. I just, you know, liked the variety, and it just felt like, you know, very nice to walk through. There was a lot to see. And yeah, definitely would recommend checking that place out if you are in the LA area. So the next museum we went to during the same day was the LACMA Museum, which is the Los Angeles County Museum of Art. They had some modern art stuff going on, and then of course they eventually had more like contemporary art, which, you know, was also pretty cool. And then we hit the gift shop, and there wasn't really too much I wanted, to be honest. Obviously, yeah. But I ended up picking some postcards, and thankfully this came out to roughly 10 USD. And of course I had to get some sort of Japanese related postcards, so I have a bunch right here. I have some also big ones right here. So I'll start off with the tiny ones. We have this one right here, which is the No Robe, I guess Robe, Karaori, with snow-laden camellias and Genji clouds. So it's supposed to be, I think, a kimono, or like a, I don't know. I'm guessing it's a kimono. I could be wrong. The next one I had was this kind of cool samurai armor that is supposed to look like a tengu, which I thought was cool. They had also different like samurai armor types, but I thought this one was the coolest, and I didn't want to quite get them all. After that, we have this one right here. This is I guess this is the name of the person, Tsukioka Yoshitoshi. I guess is the name of the person on here. I could be wrong. I don't know. I don't know if it's the name of the artist. I guess it's the name of the artist who did this. I don't know. Again, I could be wrong. And the last one I have is this sort of landscape one. This is Utagawa Hiroshige. This is like, I guess, a scene from I don't know. It says Ronin stopped from crossing the Ryogoku Bridge. So I guess this is from a certain, I guess, historical event. But there's that one. And the last one I got is this bigger print that was like $2.50. So the biggest one is these lovely looking cranes by Maruyama Okio. Yeah, so it's titled Crane. So these were actually on silk screens. You can kind of tell by, you know, these lines that are right there. But yeah, obviously another beautiful print I decided to pick up. They had an enamel pin version of this. Well, you know, with just like 2 cranes on it, but I'm like, nah, I don't really need it, so I just picked up the postcard instead. So yeah, that was pretty much all I got from that museum, because there wasn't really like stuff at the gift shop that really interested me. It was also very small, so I'm like, I'm good. I'm just good with these postcards overall. And now we are going to move on to the third and final museum. Well, I shouldn't say final. The third, one of the fourth, technically the fourth museum we went to. The third I'll probably just gloss over in the next part. So the third museum I actually went to go see with my dad, because my sister was actually out with her friend who lives in LA. So my dad wanted to see this museum called the Petersen Automotive Museum, and I do have to say the outside I quite like the design of, with all the, you know, I think they described it as like ribbons or something. So, you know, we went inside. It was 3 floors. The top floor and the bottom floor were probably my favorites. The top floor had a bunch of different cars from movies, and the bottom floor actually held the James Bond exhibition, which had pretty much some iconic cars from the James Bond movies. And, you know, I didn't really want to buy anything from the gift shop because it wasn't really anything that piqued my interest and, you know, expensive. So there was that museum. I did think it was just cool to see some of these cars up close, but other than that, yeah. And now we are moving on to the last museum we saw, and it was the Broad Museum. It's a contemporary arts museum, and they had a bunch of different, like, you know, artists. They had different, like, big sculptures, a lot of different, like, types of, like, art mediums and styles. I mean, I feel like that's what most museums have. But, yeah. I didn't quite enjoy it. The only issue was the 3rd floor was pretty much the whole, like, you know, was pretty much it. Because the 1st floor had the Takashi Murakami exhibition, which unfortunately you did have to pay extra for. Which I was fine with because, like, well, we didn't see it. But I was fine with not seeing it just because I didn't know who the guy was ahead of time, and, you know, didn't really, you know, feel the need to go see it. So, obviously, going through, I mostly picked up postcards from this museum, and came out to around, like, $32, which... And, you know, they said, oh, if you buy a certain amount of postcards, you get, like, something off. And it didn't feel like it since I paid $32 for it. But, yeah. So that happened. I don't know Murakami, and I don't know. I just don't really feel the need to pick up anything in his art style. I mean, except for these postcards, obviously, because I thought, you know, they were cool. But, yeah. So, I'll be going through some of these, and... The first 2 I got are actually from a different artist named Roy Lichtenstein, who does this sort of like comic book-esque, I guess, pop art style? I'm not too sure how to describe it. And it is this first one right here, which is called Live Ammo Blang. And yeah, I don't know. I just like, of course, the comic book aesthetic to this. The next one is also by him, which is called I'm Sorry. Just this woman crying. I don't know. Again, thought it was, you know, pretty cool, just the style of it all. And the last couple I have are all by Murakami, I believe. Yeah. So we have this first one right here, which has a lot of tiny, tiny details. So yeah. So yeah, there's this one right here, which is very weird. Like, I don't know what the heck is going on, but I'm digging it a little bit. And the next one right here, which actually had a bigger print that was like for $15, but I'm like, okay, where am I gonna put it? That's just the thing. It is called Hustle and Punch by Kai Kai and Kiki, which I think are supposed to be his little characters in here. Which, you know, I thought this one was just very cool, very weird. I had to pick it up. This next one right here is, I think it's actually a sculpture, so I think this was actually probably going to be in the exhibition. This little sculpture from one of his characters. This is called Daub in the Strange Forest. Very weird, very cool also. And the last one I kind of picked up, and the last few I picked up was actually of this character right here. There were a bunch of different versions of him, and yeah, so I picked it up. I ended up picking a bunch of these up. So yeah, I basically picked up a few of these ones right here, which is of, I guess, like one of his characters looks like a crazed Mickey Mouse, essentially. But yeah, I think most of those were $2, I think. The Roy Lichtenstein ones, I think, were $5, I want to say. I could be wrong. Anyway, that came out to $32, and I'm like, oh, I spent $32 on postcards when I probably could have gotten something maybe a little bit cooler, but you know, it's kind of nice that I can just put these in like my little photo album book and, you know, skim through them whenever I feel like it. So that actually concludes the Broad Museum. You know, I saw a lot of like cool artworks, and you know, sadly didn't know about the Murakami exhibition, but again, I'm not too bothered by not seeing it just because, again, I didn't know who the guy was. So yeah, there was that one, and now we are moving on to the last sort of hall, which was the Kinokuniya in Japanese Village. So now moving on to sort of the last day of my trip. We actually went to Japanese Village, and we also went to Santa Monica, which was kind of, Santa Monica was kind of like sort of a last minute thing that my sister wanted to see, you know, and we got to see the Pacific Ocean. The pier was beautiful, there's just so many people on the beach. And yeah, so I'll just say, you know, Santa Monica was definitely absolutely amazing. Very nice to see, like, sort of last minute, you know, you got to see the ocean and just the hustle and bustle and everything, and yeah, so that part was wonderful. But I don't mean to downplay Santa Monica, but, you know, of course, I was very excited for, of course, Japanese Village, which I have to say, if you're obviously into anime, manga, you know, there's like a small area there. You know, I mean, no, I shouldn't say there's a small area. There's a couple of areas there dedicated to that. You know, you have your other tiny small shops, but obviously I was excited for the manga anime stuff, and like there was one place I think I'll just talk about right now called The Jungle, I believe, but it was in this tiny little area called Little Tokyo Mall, and while we were waiting to get into our the restaurant we had reservation for, I decided to quickly go there just because I also wanted to get some footage. And it was pretty cool. They had a whole bunch of figures, they had some manga on the shelf, they had some Blu-rays, and thankfully there was nothing I really wanted, plus, you know, it was just like, probably was going to be way too expensive, and obviously very hard for me to get, you know, to pack away, you know, and yeah. But obviously that's a cool area. I definitely would like to go there sometime in the very distant future, because that area is very cool. But yeah, other than that, Japanese Village was very cool. We also went to, I should say the food place we went to was the Kura, I think is the name of, it's a revolving sushi sort of place, and yeah, it's very, you know, some people say it's gimmicky, it kind of is, but I don't know, I thought it was very cool. So basically the sushi on the bottom, they're at a set price, so it was like $3.20 per plate, and you know, it spins around and you basically just pop open the little protective thing and you take the plate out and then you eat it, and then when you're done you dispose of the plate in a little slot thing, and they actually count it up, and once you get over 10, so I think it does in like an interval of 10, you go over 10 you can get like a little gachapon, and you know, you get like a little prize out of this. And I think they had this sort of collab with like Pugs, which you can either get a little bookmark, a sticky notepad, or a temporary tattoo. So my sister and I actually got it, and it came in this tiny little gachapon, and I'll just crack it open. Yeah, so this is the notepad, by the way. Like, that is, what am I gonna write on this? It's so tiny. So yeah, this was a collab between Pugly and Kura. Also, I got this, well, I ate it, but I got this delicious taiyaki ice cream, and it was so good. I think that was my first time trying taiyaki, and you do have like a sort of screen that you have to order from to get like the little bit more expensive stuff. My dad had to use that to get a ramen bowl, and I used to get the taiyaki, and that conveyor belt, like right above like the sushi, it goes like so fast, and yeah. So that taiyaki was delicious. It was definitely worth, I think, like, it's $5, but I'm like, definitely worth it in my opinion. So anyway, sort of back to the main event, which is the little books Kinokuniya that was in the, you know, the sort of part of Japanese village. And yeah, I spent a lot. Here it is. Here is my Kinokuniya haul right here in this bag. And I'll be going through basically the smallest items to the biggest items, essentially. But yeah. I have 4 art books, 2 manga, and a bunch of little, like 4 keychains, but those are gonna be for my friends because they wanted some stuff from like anime. So the first things I'll be starting off with are actually some freebies I got. I'm not sure if they just threw these in or you had to buy a certain amount of items to get these, but they are 4 Jujutsu Kaisen related things. So the first 2 we have here are these 2 very sparkly panda and ghetto stickers. Very excited. I was kind of excited for the ghetto. Sorry panda. He does look cute though. So we have 2 of those stickers, and the other 2 are actually these 2 Polaroids. We have one. Oh, I'm looking at them. We have Megumin on one, and then we have probably my favorite of the 2, definitely the Jujutsu first years. So Yuji, Nobara, and Megumi on this one. Very cool, very reflective on my ring light. So yeah, those are more like photo style, like photographs, essentially. And now we have the smallest items I have. These are the ones I got for my friends. So for my first friend, she asked, like, you know, she watched Demon Slayer, and of course her favorite Demon Slayer character is Giyu, so I got her this very, you know, still unwrapped by the way, I'm not gonna unwrap these, which was this Giyu pin badge, which was $12. Very cool. I do like the little gold accents on this one. If you guys can see it, because it's in the packaging, so it's so reflective. And the second one I got was a sort of toge, very cool neon, like acrylic charm, which is very cool. I do quite like these. And Toge is her favorite character from JJK. But they're like, these are $16, so I'm like, I mean, I don't even think there was a character, like one of my favorite characters was there, so I'm like, I'll skip. So yeah, very cool. Also, Toge little charm. The next stuff I got from my friend, because she also watched Jujutsu Kaisen, I got this very cool looking Nobara acrylic, it's a key holder acrylic charm. But yeah, they had them in this sort of like party going style, and of course, well, she said, oh, Yuji, Yuta, or Nobara was her favorite, and they had one with Yuji in this sort of style, but I did like this outfit from Nobara a lot better, so I picked this one for her, for Nobara. And then they also had in the same style as that Toge charm, this Yuji sort of neon style, which I think is very cool. Maybe I should have looked through it to see what other characters they had, but you know, these are obviously going to go to my friends in the end, so they're obviously very cool, and I do hope they like them, of course. And now moving on to the stuff that I bought. Okay. So I'll start off with the 2 manga I got. The first one right here, they're all wrapped, so I'll probably quickly unwrap them to show you guys. But it is the 3rd volume of I'm the Cat Lord's Manservant. So what I decided to do is actually do a voiceover while I go through the manga, because I think that's like the best idea for me to do, so I'll just read the synopsis off of Yum Press's website. So it says, Yukiharu Izumi just wants to be one thing, to be a normal high school student, but homeless, penniless, and with nobody else to rely on, he finds himself begging on his knees in front of shape-shifting cats. They're willing to take him in, but only if he waits on their every whim, and so starts his chaotic days as the Cat Lord's manservant. So yeah, pretty funny like manga, and what caught me of course was the art style. I really love the art style of this. And it's only 4 volumes, and since I have 3 out of the 4, I might as well pick up the last one. So yeah, very short series overall. Not sure when the 4th volume comes up, but it'll probably be a while since the 3rd one came out, I believe, last month. But yeah, very excited to have this series complete when the 4th volume comes out. And the second one I got, which is a new series recently released by Yen Press, it is the 1st volume of Mons Taboo. So I'll read the synopsis of this series, and it is: honor student Maruka Suzuki hides a dark secret and a death wish. She knows the world is full of monsters disguised as adults, and she's recklessly looking for a creature to turn her to mush. When one such grown-up saves her instead, she sees this rabbit-like being named Mochizuki not as her executioner, but as some serious relationship material. Girlfriend and boyfriend, human and monster, wielder and weapon. How far will Maruka and Mochizuki go, and what other mysteries lie in store for them? So yeah, what caught me first about this series was the art style. I don't know, something about it just I quite liked, and the designs of these grown-ups. And also Maruka wields Mochizuki as a side, so I'm like, of course I had to pick this up. Also, it is a very mature series. There are some parts that are probably disturbing to some people, so that's a heads up ahead of time. But yeah, also only 4 volumes, so you know, maybe I'll continue and pick this whole series up. We'll have to see in the future. So now we are moving on to the sort of the biggest section, which is the 4 art books that I've gotten. And yeah, so the more expensive sort of books that I've gotten from Kinokuniya. And the first one we actually have is this Sakuna of Rice and Ruins art book. And what's kind of weird is I'm holding it like this, but it's actually supposed to be kind of like this to read it. Yeah, I don't know why they decided this, but I really do love this cover for it. So this was 40 USD, which was a little bit expensive, and it contains basically some concept artwork of like the characters throughout the game, the weapons, the enemies, the backgrounds, just the whole process of, you know, making this game essentially. And the thing about this is, again, I have the Sakuna Rice and Ruins Deluxe Edition, which actually does have an art book, but it's like a lot thinner. So I think this one has kind of the same content as the small art book that came in the deluxe edition, but this one, you know, just has a bit more. So if you are gonna get anything with Sakuna of Rice and Ruins, like, I definitely get this art book. But yeah, I love the cover. I love, like, you can see like Sakuna's name is shiny. These like blossoms are shiny. It's just obviously a very beautiful cover, and yeah, very excited to have this one. Do I think $40? Maybe not. I don't know. That's just me. But obviously, again, a very beautiful art book in the end. So the next art book I have that was around 29, yeah, or 30 USD. I'll just round up. It is the fashion illustration book, The Art of Tanaka. So I've seen this one for a while. First I saw this on Daijo Bubu's channel, like way back when, and I was like, oh, I really love the art style. I really like the fashion that was shown off in this book. And yeah, I wanted it for the longest time, but haven't bothered to pick it up online. So when I saw it at Kinokuniya, I'm like, okay, this is my opportunity. I'll pick it up. And yeah, so I was just looking at this. I just love like the style that she draws the characters in. I just love the fashion. You know, when it comes to me drawing, like, I feel like I'm not the best at like designing clothes for like characters and stuff, but you know, hopefully this is a good reference for that. And it actually is kind of like in alphabetical order. So we have like E is eccentric, D is disguise, C is costume. So yeah, I do quite like that. I think it's very cute, very, like, you know, you give yourself a word and you try and come up with a design based off that word. So yeah, obviously very cool art book overall. Very excited to finally have this in my collection, and again, hopefully I can get some good use out of it. So the next art book I got is actually another fashion illustration book, and it is this one right here. This is Real Clothes Illustrations, fashion illustration outfit of the day. So I think this is essentially like a sort of collaboration between multiple artists, and yeah, so I picked this up because obviously I like having an art book with a variety of artists, and you know, I like the cover too. This was also 30 USD, and obviously I was torn between this one and the Tanaka fashion illustration book, but I'm like, why not get both? So yeah, another sort of good reference for me. I really love all of the different types of artists and art styles in this, and yeah, so very excited for this one. And now we're moving on to the final art book, which I'm very excited for. The most expensive thing I got here, coming in at around 53 USD. It is this beautiful Fuzi Choco art book. What is it? It says Fuzi Choco artwork Sai Genkyo. Not too sure what that means. But yeah, I do have actually another Fuzi Choco art book, so this is my second one from them. Definitely one of my favorite artists. I just love, obviously, the amount of detail that they put into all their pieces and just how colorful everything is. Also, this is, specifically this one has the, what is it? The Ghost Bride, which is getting turned into that $600 figure. Yeah, that's in here. There's a bunch of, they also have like Fate. They have actually some like Fire Emblem, they did some Fire Emblem cipher cards, and they also have some Onmyoji stuff in here, which I thought was cool. I didn't know they did stuff for that. Also Toho, I forgot to also mention Toho. But I skimmed through this quickly and I'm blown away by all of the artwork in this. Very beautiful. So in yen, this was I think 3,200 yen, so maybe you can find this online a little bit cheaper than I did in Kinokuniya. Hopefully you can, because like, god, this is definitely an amazing art book, and I'm excited to add this right next to my other Fuzi Choco art book. But wow, it's definitely great, especially with the size of this art book, and also there are there's like two sections where they actually kind of fold out into like longer spreads, which I thought was absolutely cool, so yeah. So yes, that kind of concludes pretty much everything I hauled from Kinokuniya so far, and now I'll basically be doing like my outro as well as my overall thoughts on my experience in LA. So I'd say my overall experience with LA was fantastic. The people were pretty nice, I'd say. Like, I don't know what I was expecting in LA. Like, I didn't think the people would be nice for some reason, but they're overall pretty laid back. And like, I guess for an example of just the people being like nice was like, we had to take the bus a lot, and I guess we kind of had trouble like putting the money in, and the guy's like, no, you don't have to. Like, that happened with a few of the bus drivers, and I was like, oh, okay. But you know, we're watching other people put their money in, so I'm like, okay, why don't we not have to put the money in? I don't know why, but that was pretty sweet, and we kind of saved a couple of bucks there, which is good. We only had to pay like during like the last fare on the way home, but other than that, we saved like a bunch of money there, which was nice. And just, I don't know, like, people are just like very friendly overall. Like, the hotel we stayed at was very nice and friendly. We went to like another area which had like a farmer's market. Like, there was a lot of friendly people right there. And yeah, just people very laid back and, you know, just relaxing and chill, and it was just, I don't know. So, you know, obviously it's very nice to see just the hospitality in LA. So also, like, another story, kind of one where I might have gone to the hospital was, it was during the first day we got there. We had snacks on the plane, and, you know, we didn't really have like a proper meal or something, and, you know, we had baked goods. We went to like a pie place, and they literally had a pie called the Serial Killer, and I don't know if that did me in for what happened later tonight, but yeah. So my sister and then we went to see at the Academy Museum of Motion Pictures. We saw like a movie. They had baked goods and coffee after, and then, you know, we went back and we got settled down and went to bed. And then in the middle of the night, my stomach was having issues, so I had to wake up. I had to go to the bathroom, and I was quite in pain for some time, and oh my god, because my dad's like, Sarah, do you have to go to the hospital? I'm like, no, I've had this before, I just have to let it out, and thank god, you know, it was just that, and then I went back to sleep and I was perfectly fine, which was good, because essentially that happened the very first day we were here, and I didn't want to spend my vacation in an LA hospital because of my stomach. Yeah, so it's just something I ate. It might have been that serial killer pie. My mom thought it might have been the stress of flying, I guess. I'm like, I don't know, I just feel like it's something I ate. So there was that that kind of embarrassing story that happened, but a story nonetheless. And yeah, Japanese Village was great. They also had like, I just remembered this. They also had like a bunch of food delivery robots going about. I wish I could have recorded one actually on the LA street, but I did put one of the one that was in that Kura Sushi, the serving those drinks, and then there was also one at the hotel that was very cute. So yeah, a lot of robots, essentially, you know, food robots, there was that. And I guess kind of on a more serious note, I guess the one thing in LA that was just a bit troubling, I feel comfortable, but I can see why other people might not feel comfortable. It is definitely the whole homeless situation going on, which is obviously, you know, sad to see. Like, there's a whole bunch of like tents on the sidewalk, and you mostly don't, you see some of them during the day, but I feel like it happens more at night. And the one area, after Japanese Village, we walked to the bus stop, and we kind of had to go past this like homeless area, and this area had to be like the area with like the most amount of like tents and homeless people. And it's just, I don't know, I felt like it was just honestly crazy to see, and it doesn't feel like anything is being done to help these people, essentially. I know, like, sorry if I kind of like laugh, but it's like a nervous habit. But, you know, obviously I hope that in the end things change where people who are like homeless can obviously be helped in some way. It sounds easier said than done, and obviously I don't know how the whole process to sort of fix this situation goes, but yeah, because, you know, we're walking through, sorry, going back to that area, we're walking through, my dad, you know, we're kind of standing there, and we have to wait for the bus, and, you know, my dad says to me and my sister, do you guys feel comfortable? We will say yes. You know, and, you know, thankfully, you know, there was like no sort of violence or anything in that area, which was good. But obviously, you know, in the end, it's kind of hard to look at, to see, and I feel like if obviously things were done to help these people, it would help, you know, them, and it would also like help with tourism, because, you know, people hear about these things like, oh, homeless people on the streets with like and tents on the sidewalk. They probably won't want to visit. That's just how I feel personally. So hopefully, I say hopefully, it's kind of hard to say, but in the future, that things change for them, and that, you know, they manage to, you know, find themselves like a better like living situation, essentially, and that the whole city of LA can actually help them in some way. So that was just, I guess, the one thing that was kind of like sad to watch. Like, we're enjoying ourselves, but you have these people trying to sort of like survive in their little homes, in these little tents on the street, and yeah. So that was just, I guess, the one, you know, obviously sad part about being in LA. Everything else was good, but I feel like I should also point that out. If you ever travel to LA, is just, if you feel comfortable like walking past like homeless people or tents, or like sort of these homeless people areas, because, you know, obviously some people are more comfortable than others, but it's just obviously a heads up. So yes, on that note, that was pretty much my experience with LA. You know, obviously there was a lot of good that came out of this. Not just buying stuff, but just obviously being able to travel, and just obviously enjoying a sort of new environment, and just, yeah, just pretty much just everything. I did think definitely a great place to visit. Obviously, you know, make sure you find a good, safe like area to stay in while you were there. But yeah, definitely recommend going to LA. Definitely recommend checking out Japanese Village if you're into that sort of thing, and definitely check out the museums. Very cool, very nice and peaceful just to walk through overall. So that concludes my overall LA haul / thoughts on the city, and, you know, just the places where I visited. Definitely like a lot of stuff to do, and thankfully the area where we went to, you know, it was pretty safe, obviously, and, you know, thankfully we could just walk to those museums. My sister did have to pay for like the Uber to get us to places, and so, you know, I thank her for that. You know, definitely you need a car. I should have also mentioned this in my thoughts. You do need a car, you know, or at least take the bus, because, God, walking places can get, you know, crazy. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed my stay, definitely enjoyed, you know, the museums, Japanese village, and yeah, I definitely recommend checking out those places if you guys are interested in ever visiting LA. And so let me know what you liked from this haul, essentially, and would you, you know, consider visiting LA in the future? And yeah, so yeah, that concludes this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or night wherever you are, and take it easy. Goodbye.